can think of is maybe there's some sort of hidden setting in there that you have to turn
No,
on to get Google Chrome.
no,
All the
because
new Windows have
you
that. You
wouldn't
got
do
to
that.
do, there's a setting that you can do so that way you can download it. But I
Hi,
had to do that
Jose.
with this laptop I got 2 years ago.
No, I had the set. I had their gurus on online, and they're
Yeah.
like, "We can't figure this out." Like, "Oh, I'll be bringing it back then. I'll be bringing it back to you guys."
Well,
That's
let
wild.
them figure it out then, right?
I'm like, "Yeah, here, figure this out. Give me my money back, and I'll just get a different computer."
Yeah, whatever IT company you use, they can have them set it up for you as well. I don't know.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Sometimes it's just easier to do it that way, honestly.
I use Ralph Upton. He's good.
Yeah.
So how have you been, Jose?
Good. Just staying out of trouble with the mental health practice, just keeping my head to the ground.
Staying
And then
staying out of
we do
trouble.
this with Ray every Tuesday. We have
Nice.
some kind of compliance or some kind of topic that we talk about that seems to be popping up a little more frequently than normal. And then we try to deep dive into it, or not deep dive, but shallow dive. And then if everybody asks us for more, then we do more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I figure on this one we'll just keep it basic, and
Yeah, I mean, I
might
know
dive a
that
little might dive a little
it's
further. And
probably
go ahead.
go ahead, Ray. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say we talk about the basics, and then if it's something that we can dive deeper into, we can always do another.
Well, I mean, I
Someone
feel
can make
like
they can make an appointment.
yeah, so I mean, I feel like and again, everybody that's on and everybody that watches this, when Mark gives his elevator pitch, it's a relatively simple one, but where he stands out is on the expertise side. So I do have some questions based on some things that pop up, and the fun 1099 questions that always
I have
seem
a
to
whole
pop
I
up.
have I have a whole section on that.
Yeah, yeah. So I figure,
Fun
we can.
1099 questions.
Well, and
Everything's fun until
there's
they
That's
been
get
something
some
that we were
compliant.
dealing with
interesting,
here at Epic
yeah, there's
Compliance.
been some interesting conversations in regards to where does that 1099 1040 employee or W2 employee stop? Where's that? What really encompasses that? Because I have some clients on the consulting side that are like, oh yeah, no, this person's 1099, but we handle their compliance. And I'm like, well, then they're not a they're not really a contractor then. But again, it's one of those deals where we wanted to dive into that a little bit more with you.
Yeah, that's not a problem. That's easy.
It's cool, cool, cool.
Because if you
So,
because
You
if
know,
you because if you misclassify someone intentionally, it's a felony.
well, the
It's
problem
funny,
is,
isn't
you're
it?
going
right?
to jail.
I tell people it's like Florida doesn't have a lot of laws, but if you break one, it's a felony.
Well, but it's one of those deals where it's not like anybody that I talk to in the field is actively attempting to skirt any laws. It's just that they weave in and out, especially with healthcare, in such a way
Yeah.
that you're in violation of this law, but you're safe under this law. This law takes precedence in this case, so then you're safe. And then if this doesn't work, then you're screwed on both, and it just gets stupid very quickly.
Yeah, it does. We can touch a little on that.
Perfect.
We got some information on it.
Perfect, perfect.
Well, we'll go ahead and we'll run through the
Want to
trivia
start?
question and we'll dive into it. Sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not bury the lead too far.
All righty. Well, let's get the screen shared. And for those of you that are joining in, appreciate you being here. This is going to be a great topic. We're going to be talking about payroll compliance with Mr. Mark Resko.
Hi guys.
I'll say the introduction here shortly after the weekly trivia quiz that we do. And for those that were on last week's webinar, we talked about healthcare compliance and medical imaging. So if you're on that webinar, this is a question. If you were paying attention to Mr. George Castralis, he was our gentleman that we interviewed last week, and if you're paying attention to his presentation, then you should get this question correct. So we're going to dive into it. Let me know if you guys can see screen, Jose. Mark, same.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can see it.
And Mark, feel free to take an educated guess as well. So the question for today is, what type of MRI machine does Express Medical Group feature for advanced MRI services? And the choices are A, a 1 Tesla GE MRI, B, 2 Tesla GE MRI. Why did I put ABA? That's fine. I just tricked everybody.
I'll take
Oh my God.
I'll take both.
It's a
B's.
50-50 shot.
This is a good bloop. This is a good blooper, actually. What to say? C, 3 Tesla GE MRI, and D.
You mean
4,
A2?
Yeah, A2, B2, 4 Tesla GE MRI. Oh my goodness. Go ahead and put your answers in chat. We'll call the last one C and D.
B2?
Good Lord. Good Lord. Go ahead and put your answers in chat. Ray, we'll chalk it up Memorial Day weekend. All right. So go ahead and put your answers in chat. We'll give it about 30 seconds. That's too funny.
It's too funny.
Good Lord, Ray. Ray, what's wrong with you?
You didn't get enough sleep, man.
I don't know. I slept pretty good, but I don't know. Don't know what I was thinking when I came in today, working on the trivia question. But it's all good. All right. Miss Rivers with a D, 4 Tesla. Mark, you want to make a educated guess?
I'll go with 4.
Okay. So we got 2 Ds.
2 Ds.
So the answer is in fact 3. That's a 3 Tesla GE MRI. And
going all the way.
George was kind of explaining this. Again, I'm not a guru in the imaging field, but that's why we interviewed George. He's been in the field for over 30 years. But the 3 Tesla MRI, I guess the number stands for the strength of the magnetic field generated by the machine, and 3 is a very high field strength. I honestly don't even know if there is a 4.
If you got enough money, right?
I was gonna say George is in Palaca, which is sort of a considered rural area here in Florida, and for a rural area, a 3 Tesla is very high in that area. So it's a very good thing that he's offering, featuring for those folks in Palaca. But good attempt. Sorry, Miss Rivers. Hey, I appreciate the effort. Like I said, I don't know if you were on last week's webinar, but I appreciate the guests. And if you weren't on that webinar, you could always go to our YouTube channel. The video is up from that one as well. So
there's some amazing things they're doing with imaging right now. So
absolutely,
it's very, very interesting.
So we'll go ahead and dive into the presentation. Let me switch over. Just you guys got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Sweet. So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us on today's webinar. We're going to be talking about, or today's topic, I should say, is on streamlining payroll for healthcare organizations. I'm Ray Walters. I will be your host. I'm also joined by my co-host, Jose Delgado. For those of you that have caught previous webinars, Jose, over 20 years experience in healthcare consulting, currently owns and runs a telehealth practice, a mental telehealth practice, and glad to have him on this one as well. And we are joined by the expert today, Mr. Mark Resko, who is the CEO of Fidelis Payroll. And for those of you that don't know, Fidelis Payroll is a leading provider of payroll solutions, particularly known for their personalized touch and expertise in healthcare payroll management. Mark has over 20 years of experience in the payroll industry and is here to answer your questions. Mark, anything
Hi,
you want
to add? No, that's pretty good.
Great.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Mark Resko, and I do own Fidelis Payroll here in beautiful sunny St. Augustine, Florida. I started my career in after the Marine Corps in the Hartford Insurance Company, where I was there for quite a while in commercial insurance. And when I got out of that, I started Fidelis Payroll. So started it in Connecticut, moved it here into Florida a few years ago, and we've been going strong ever since. In the compliance area, as everyone knows who owns a business or works in a business, there are many issues surrounding payroll. I would say two of the most basic fundamental issues are taking care of your employees. That's one reason why compliance is so important. The second is taking care of your business from a compliance standpoint so that a business handles its taxes from an employee and employer standpoint accurately and timely. From an employee standpoint, I'd say one of the most issues I get calls of from employees are, oh my goodness, my taxes are, you're taking too much tax out of my paycheck, or you're not taking enough tax out of my paycheck and I owe money at the end of the year. Or as we had on this Saturday at 9 o'clock in the morning, I got a call from an employee. I need to access my last 5 pay stubs because I'm going to go buy a car.
I was about to say they're either buying a car or a house with that one. So.
Like they're at the car, and that happens. And I mean, we have a portal for all employees so that they can access that information. The important thing is for them to actually set up that portal so at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, you can get in there and get those pay stubs. But if you didn't, you always know you can pick up the phone and we'll help you out.
Nice.
But I'm making sure that employees are paid accurately and their taxes are filed and they have access to that's very, very important. Some specific areas that we focus on for payroll is first and foremost the calculation of payroll. The first thing you have to do when you calculate payroll, as you know, is calculate the time somebody worked, particularly if they're on and as an hourly employee. And we tell our clients to access online time and attendance programs in order to do that accurately. And we also offer a time and attendance product for our clients to so that their employees can check in, punch in, punch out, keeps track of all their information. So they just have to download that into payroll. Makes it real easy and it's very accurate. Pardon me. If they don't use our payroll time and attendance, we can just download whatever system they're using. They send it to us and we just import that information. We can track hours, vacation, paid time off, project management, that sort of thing. And it helps the business to keep track of that. Because believe me, employees keep track of the hours that they work.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, they do.
They don't look at their pay stub, but they do watch those hours that they work. Paying employees, the actual physical act of paying employees also, it sounds easy, but it's very, very important to get it right.
Of course.
Classifying employees correctly is very, very important. We touched on this a little bit before the podcast when I was talking to Jose. You have 2 types of employees basically in a business, salaried and hourly. Salaried, they get us the set amount of money, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever it might be. And for a lot of the salaried employees, they're exempt from overtime. You have exempt and non-exempt. Being exempt from overtime is exactly what it says it is. It's set forth in the Fair Labor Standards Act. You have certain employees that are automatically exempt. You look at managers, professionals, most IT employees that are paid a salary are exempt from overtime. And then you have your highly compensated employees, those making over $107,000 a year. There are some exceptions to that rule, and you can also have salaried, non-exempt employees. And that would be salaried employees. You might have a manager that manages a group of employees, but also performs other tasks that would be tasks of an hourly employee where we'd have to track that hourly, how much time they spend doing that. And they can get overtime as well. Hourly employees, it's fairly simple. They're paid an hourly wage for time worked. Florida, the minimum wage is $12. Any time over and above 40 hours in a work week is time and a half, 1.5 times their hourly pay rate. Another aspect of payroll that's very important that deals especially with compliance is the filing government forms accurately and timely. You have two aspects to this. You've got to collect the taxes and pay the taxes. And that's done when we run the payroll. Quarterly, you reconcile that with the form 941. People are familiar with the quarterly reporting forms. That quarterly reporting form goes back and reconciles, hey, this is what we said we collected. This is what we sent you as payment. Do those two things jive? And they better jive. And they do. But that's the 941 form, a quarterly form. In Florida, we do not have state income tax like other states like Georgia does. Georgia has income tax. However, in Florida, we have to file a quarterly RT6 form, which reconciles the reemployment tax from what was collected to what was paid, what should have been collected. So that's an RT6 form, and that's filed quarterly as well. The form 940, you have your 941 is for your income tax. Your RT6 is for your reemployment tax. And then the 940 is a report that goes in at the end of the year for federal unemployment tax. So you have SUTA, FUTA, and then the income tax. Probably the most important form that we do from an employee standpoint, because can anyone guess what that might be at the end of the year that everyone is clamoring for?
As soon as January 1st hits.
As soon as January 1st hits, where's my W-2 form? And employers are required to get that form to their employees by the end of January. Everyone has asked for that form. We do that for our clients. We produce that W-2, right? And we know we can mail it. We still mail it to some clients. However, in our system, the employees can go in and they opt to get it electronically.
Right.
Okay.
Because each employee has their own access, and essentially they can log in anytime and access it. So it just
anytime and access
eliminates that headache. And from if you're a manager and you're dealing with employees, especially a larger organization, where's my W-2? Log into your profile, and it's there.
And it takes out, and believe it or not,
it's convenient.
I love the U.S. Postal Service. However, we would mail the W-2s as we were supposed to the employer. And on our mailing, on the window, it says from Fidelis Payroll to so-and-so, to our client. We would mail it, and they would mail it to me. They would mail it to Fidelis Payroll. I would get the whole packet that we mailed for a client.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, so it is kind of funny. But yeah, we get the calls.
That's what spurred the idea. That makes sense now.
Yeah, I'm like, guys, we're not doing this anymore.
Programmers, hey, we need this functionality.
Yeah, we're not doing this anymore. But yeah, so we do that. We also we do the W-3 form, which isn't filed, but it's kept with the employer so that they know how many W-2s were done and what the numbers are on them. And probably one of the most important reasons that people use a payroll company like Fidelis Payroll is we do all those state filings. We file all those forms for you, and we assume the liability for any errors made on our part, knock on wood, which is, I can't remember the last time that we had to pay any fine or anything like that for a client. But knock on wood, that's always good to have in your back pocket. It's always good to have a third party looking at something as important as payroll.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Another important area is the submitting of the withholding taxes for employees. We pay that, and we paid also the taxes for the employer, the FICA, Medicare, federal income tax, state income tax for employees, and all the requisite taxes for the employer. So it kind of gives you peace of mind. And for a client, all of that is in our system and it's all at your fingertips. If you've got access to the internet, then you have access to all that information all the time, which is important when people come looking for these reports.
Absolutely.
For new businesses and existing businesses, we strongly advise from a compliance standpoint and just from a processing and a peace of mind standpoint, we advise everyone to have 4 important professionals that they have a relationship with. First is a lawyer. A lawyer helps you set up your business, helps to get everything filed, and helps to do it correctly. The next one is an accountant / bookkeeper, CPA. Bookkeeper and accountants, different professionals. However, you need to have at least one of these.
Yeah.
We advise Fidelis Payroll as a payroll company because payroll has implications from an accounting standpoint as well as an insurance standpoint. And we also advise having a reputable, knowledgeable insurance agent because what kind of insurance does a business with employees need to have? Workers'
Yeah, you're talking about the benefits now.
I'm talking about workers' compensation.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you have an employee, you need to have workers' compensation insurance. One aspect of workers' compensation insurance is when you set up your workers' comp, your agent's going to estimate what your payroll is because the rate is based on payroll and estimates that you pay him a certain amount of money, 25% down, 9 equals, whatever it might be. At the end of the policy period, you get you get what everybody really enjoys, the workers' comp audit. Oh yeah.
I just had to do that. Well,
Yeah,
not just the beginning of the year. I had to
that's
go
always
in and do that, which is fun.
that's always fun. And that audit compares what the estimate was to what the actuality was from a payroll standpoint. And then if you paid too much, then they write you a check. If you didn't pay enough, you write them a check. In order to get that information, they're going to require several different payroll reports, of which we have all of them for you. So I usually get a lot of calls for the payroll reports and to get those sent out to people. The clients have access to it, but quite frankly, I mean, usually clients are doing their business. They're not in the payroll system looking for, how to run each aspect of the payroll system they have access to. So we help them out with that.
These are all
And
good
workers' comp also has implications with how you classify employees, which we'll get to in a moment.
I was going to say, Mark, if you ever get the question of, where should I get my workman's comp? Are you referring them to Hartford?
Hartford does a great job. I mean, you're going to want to have, I call them first world carriers versus third world carriers. I mean, you're going to want to have a good national carrier or a very good regional carrier for your workers' comp. Because there's a saying in insurance, workers' comp is workers' comp. But the thing is, when you have a claim and you got to take care of an employee that's been injured, I mean, the insurance company, they can make that a very agreeable or disagreeable experience for the employee. And that's the last thing you want to have, happen is have an employee injured and not be, not taken care of because that gets around to your other employees. It affects morale.
I would say what I like about them the most is they do have some personal touch. That audit that you're referring to, the workman's comp audit.
Yeah.
I don't get I wasn't getting a notification sent directly to me. It was going to the owner, and they would call they call you and say, hey, you got to do this. That's always good to have a little bit of personal touch behind that stuff as well. That's important.
And that's why it's important also to have a really good insurance agent.
Yeah.
And they can help you out with a lot of that, because most of the audits for small businesses are self audits, like the one that you did. I mean, you got to have a pretty big business to have an auditor actually, coming to your location and going through your books.
Sure.
But you'll still have questions. I mean, because people, an electrician's an electrician, the doctor's a doctor. They're not insurance professionals. So it's always good to have an insurance agent helping you out through that. For new business that are getting started up, if some folks are thinking of starting up a business, it helps to contact these professionals that I mentioned before you start your business. Not a lot of people do that, but I get calls from people. Yeah, they started a business and then they're saying, "Oh, I need to pay my people," and I've already written them, checks for this and that. And I was like, okay. I mean, we can help you out with that. Did you take the FICA and Medicare? Did you withhold, federal income tax? How did that work? But we can help them out if they've already done it. But it helps to get that out of the way initially. First thing they need to do is get the state, if they're in a state with income tax registration number for their business. That's important, because when we go to pay it, we got to pay it to somewhere. We can't just say it's for this doctor's office or this electrician. It has to have their registration number. The next is a Florida state reemployment tax number. And you get that by going online and completing a form that everybody who's had some business in Florida has completed before, the DR1 form. But this is for reemployment tax. The form is somewhat daunting as it's pretty vague. And we've helped people we've walked them through the form. And you just fill it out for the reemployment portion of it. But that has to be done. And they're pretty good about getting the turnaround time. So you need that form. And the websites in Florida are really good. The Department of Revenue, they have a really good website that helps startup businesses. It says starting a business. And you go here, 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 and here. So
yeah, that's good, because the anything regarding healthcare and the Florida website is awful. And then having to call Tallahassee makes it even worse. Every single department. I hope that DeSantis and the head of ACA hear this and see this, so I can tell them your website sucks. And everything that has to do with ACA and DHS and HHS at the Florida level is awful.
Yeah.
But
I got to tell you, because I have clients in Connecticut, New York. I mean, when I call the Department of Revenue in Florida or Department of Labor, they are very good. They are very helpful, and they don't put you on hold forever. I mean, you got a question, boom. They'll walk you right through their website. They'll answer your questions. They've helped us out quite a bit, and it's a lot different in other states. But
that's very different.
Knock on wood. I mean, we've been very lucky with that. But
that's very, very different than everything healthcare related. Even calling the boards.
Yeah.
I mean, the nursing board, the doctor board, it's a giant pain in the rear. But anyways, I want to get into, because we're coming up on 2:00. I want to get into a few things that I'm seeing with clients and I'm seeing out in the field, and with the economy the way that it is, and healthcare being one of those industries that has the entire gamut of socioeconomics, right? We have minimum wage employees working side by side with 1%ers. You're finding that there's quite a few specialists and providers and that are going 1099 versus being W-2. And if just for pick a reason why, right? Maybe they're moonlighting in different places, maybe they're retiring and slowing down some, whatever the case may be. Some subsections are seeing it more than others. Do you find that there are any common mistakes that people are doing with that?
Mistakes on how they classify the employee?
Yes. Or so for example, if I'm a 1099er, or if I have a 1099 provider, but I'm providing them a company laptop and I'm providing them company equipment and things of that nature, I know that can be classified then that they're not a 1099er at that point, they're an employee.
Right. Yeah, there's and I took a look at this. whenever I have a client and they're saying, "Oh, I'm going to list this person as a 1099," I stop them and say, you know, you need to go through and you need to go onto the website and look, because there's 10, and I copied them down, 10 common law factors to determine whether someone is in fact an employee or if they are a 1099. Because if they think there's an intentional misclassification, I'm not saying there is, but if there is, it's a felony in Florida. The first common law factor that they list is the extent of control which, by agreement between the employer and the worker, the business may exercise over the details of the work. And it's very simple. If the employer retains the right to dictate how the work should be done, the worker is an employee, period.
Well, now hold on. Let me ask you a question in regards to that.
You mentioned that. Excuse me. You mentioned whether they supply them with a laptop, tools, a place to work. Typically, a contractor, they bring their own tools, so to speak. If they don't bring their own tools, and if the employer is dictating how they're doing that job, that's an employee.
Agreed.
They're providing them with the access to do it. They're managing the way they do that business or that task for them. That can be an employee.
Agreed. Now, I know that we're not actually accountants. We're not giving legal advice or anything of that nature. You know, like all the caveats that normally come into play here. But does that mean then, based on that vague definition, if I have a 1099 provider and they're using my company's electronic health record, would that then mean that we need to reclassify them as an employee? Because using my EHR, one could argue that I'm forcing them to do work in such a way. Do you get what I'm asking?
Yeah, they're using your database in order to perform whatever role it is that you've asked them to do or you're hiring them to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting, because would that be construed as control? There is a certain amount of control over that. Yeah, I would definitely in that particular case, I would say, look, and how long does the person work there? Does the person work there quite a bit doing that, or do they come in?
Let's say they work 20 hours a week. You know, they're not super part-time, but they're 2 days a week, 2.5 days a week.
Yeah, that would raise a red flag with me, because it's like on a regular basis, they're coming in and they're doing this. They're using your database in order to perform this. I would definitely, in that case, I would give the Department of Revenue a call and say, I have this situation. Here's how this works. How should I be classifying them? And I would get
now, Mark, wouldn't that also come into play for the non-healthcare side of things that are using CRMs? So let's say I run an auto body shop, or not an auto body shop, car dealership. And my salespeople are 1099, and we use a CRM. They're using my Salesforce that I pay for. Would that then classify the same way?
It may classify it the same way. However, they're using your Salesforce in order to perform the job. But what's the end product of the job?
Sales.
Right. So they're using your database in order to go in and make calls and try to get clients to come on board. And how often do they do it? Do you provide a place for them? Are they using your phone, or are they using a phone that you provide for them? How are they doing it? Are they logging into your system and then uploading everything into your system?
Well, I imagine they'd be updating the CRM based on the contacts that they have with the clients or potential clients.
Right. And are they doing it in their office or your office?
I imagine, especially since COVID occurred, you could do it either way. You could do a hybrid version. You know what I mean? Like,
right. And do you have an independent contractor agreement in place with them or not?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, you do. So that's one of the things, whether the parties believe they're creating a relationship of employer and employee or not. Is the other business, is that other person a registered business?
I would say no. Most of the time, I mean, a lot of these sales guys, a lot of these providers that are doing it, they're just filing under their own social, because depending on the state they're in, it may not be worth it because their accountant said run it under the
Yeah.
personal taxes rather than business side. Because then, maybe they're
So
paying.
if they're not registered if they're not registered as a business, then that person's probably going to be looked at as an employee. If that person's registered, has their own business registered, they're probably going to be looked at as an independent contractor.
Interesting.
I mean, there's several. I mean, you can go online and look at the 10 common law factors,
Yeah.
and it gets pretty obvious as you go through each one, whether this person would be an employee or this person would be an independent contractor.
No, absolutely. And when I've looked at the checklist and I've had the conversation with clients and I've had the conversation with my business partners and everything, it's funny because if I wanted to be difficult, I could fight a case that there is never going to be an independent contractor.
I know I mean, there are many cases when it's an
No,
independent.
but you get what I'm saying though. Like the case would be so few and far between that it's almost like if I have to look at the checklist, you're an employee.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, if you go through the checklist, I mean, we can go through all 10 of them, and
I would love to at some point, but I know that we don't have the time today. But
some of them are pretty cut and dried. I mean, if it's a very specific role that this person does, a very specialized thing that they do, they're their own business, and they come in and perform this task for you, and they're paid, and you have no control over how they do that task. That's a 1099.
Jose, maybe
so I would be.
It's pretty.
Go ahead, Ray.
I was gonna say maybe you can, or Mark, maybe you can chime in this. But as far as the healthcare aspects concerned, like if I'm a chiropractic office and I have a 1099 chiropractor that sees patients 20 hours a week, has access to my EMR. I mean, it seems
We
like
can even go one step further, right? With the radiologists, with controls, for example, or a surgeon at a surgery center.
What I'm saying, I guess I got to look into these 10 aspects. I got to dive a little deeper into it, but it sounds like as a 1099, is it preferred that you have your own business set up? Or I guess what I'm getting at, as far as physicians are concerned, 1099 physicians, do they normally have a a business set up or LLC? Or
Not always, Ray.
Not always.
You'd be shocked.
Well, that was.
I have a client that pays surgeons as 1099 in Georgia, and they come in and they perform specific surgeries, and they have their own business set up, obviously, and they're paid as a 1099.
So,
but then you're not really doing a 1099 because then you're paying a vendor as another business, right? So that's a different bag of tricks. If you're paying a business,
if you have an electrician that comes into your office and replaces a few outlets, and they invoice you for an amount of that's paid. That's a vendor. That's paid out of your books.
Right. Right. But if I'm using a payroll because I'm paying someone individually to do the job and they're identifying themselves as an individual and not a business, that's where this gets very murky very fast.
Well, that's when you have to go through the checklist. And then if there are any questions, I advise my clients to talk to the Department of Revenue and see, hey, this is the situation. I'm paying this person to do this. This is what I provide them as far as any equipment, and how would that be looked at as far as a 1099 or a W-2 employee. But if you can once you go through the checklist, I mean, it's for 90% of the people that we're talking that are looking at this. I mean, it's fairly obvious if somebody's an employee or a 1099.
Yeah, absolutely. The second I'm giving you a laptop, or I'm giving you a cell phone to do the job, or I'm giving you an office that you have to work out of, absolutely 100%, I get it. But with
employee.
But with healthcare is so interesting because with the advent of the EHRs and billing that's in the EHR as well. So you want everything done in the EHR so you can just pull it and bill it. It makes it very interesting because then I could go and say, hey, even if my radiologist is working from home using his laptop at his office that he pays for, and he only works for me 2 days a week or something, it could be something to where, yeah, he has to see this within a certain amount of time, and he has to see this in my system because it's in my system.
Yeah. Or
You see what I'm saying?
yeah, exactly.
Interesting. There's got to be, but that's that's the rules for you. So yeah, I mean, I would say we could definitely dive into this a hell of a lot more, Ray, if you but
Yeah,
we
definitely.
we should definitely open it up to some questions and everything while we got him for a few more minutes.
I was going to say one last thing, Mark.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's plenty of payroll companies out there, right? And
Yeah.
previous businesses I've worked with, I call them the big fish, ADP,
The big two.
Paychecks. Yeah, the big two. Listen,
I love those
I
guys.
emphasized earlier that one of the benefits of going with a company like yours is obviously the personal touch. I can tell you firsthand, dealing with companies like ADP or Paychecks, not to call them out or anything, but customer service, it's like pulling teeth. You gotta go through a tiered system to get an answer, and by the time you know it, you've been on hold for 30, 45 minutes,
Yeah.
So I guess obviously that's still considered competition of yours, but I guess elaborate a little bit on how customers benefit more going with services like yours
Yeah.
versus a big
Um,
fish.
yeah, I mean the big payroll companies, Paychex, ADV, I mean, they are very, very good companies. I've worked with them in the past in when I was with Hartford, and they do a great job at what they do. But they're big, they're big corporations,
Right.
and they go after big, big clients, large, huge clients, and they do a good job with that. If you have a startup business, if you have a small business that's looking for, the hands-on and knowing the person that they're have their payroll with, and knowing that at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, their person can call and get something done, um, then you're going to want to go with a company like ours, like Fidelis Payroll, where you know all of our clients are big clients to us, and we that's how we keep our clients. Um, Most of our clients have been with us, I mean, for multiple years, and usually the only way we lose them is if they retire or go out of business, something like that. Um, and that's what makes it happen. Um, when they pick up the phone and call me, I answer the phone. So that's the biggest difference that you're going to have.
Continuity. Continuity
Yeah, it's
is
not I'm not a call center.
sure.
I'm a person that doing your payroll. So that's the biggest difference. It seems like a small difference, but it makes all the difference in the
I,
world when somebody needs something.
I'm just having flashbacks where we used to, or healthcare organization I worked for used to use Paychecks, and they'd always switch reps every month or so. It seemed like their turnover rate over there is
Yeah,
not is pretty high.
yeah.
Or
Yeah,
maybe
I
they're
mean,
maybe they're allocating all those resources to the bigger fish clients.
well, they've got. I mean, you got to. They're managing an enormous client base,
Yeah,
and they have to use. Their model has worked for them, and that's great. I mean, it works for them, and they're really good companies, and they started this business way back when, and they have to do certain things a certain way in order to make it cost effective for them to do business.
sure.
We take advantage of the fact that the way we have things set up is we can take those calls and we can have the one-on-one relationship, and that who you're calling, and you're going to get that person every time. And the people that I have in my company that are that are back in my play are seasoned professionals. We got CPAs, we got tax professionals. We've got the whole gambit that I rely on to make sure everything gets done. They're just a wonderful group of people. So
No, I
that's the big
appreciate that.
difference.
Appreciate that, Mark. And yeah, we'll open the floor up. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to chime in chat, and we'll give that about 30 seconds or so.
All right.
And again, Mark, I appreciate your time. And I made a
No
slide
problem.
here. If anybody interested in learning more about Mark and Fidelis Payroll,
Yeah, give me a
I
call.
did put his website here. I'm actually going to throw it in chat as well. Phone number and Mark's email. If you have any questions, concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to him.
Yeah, the easiest way to get a hold of me is shoot me an email or give me a call or text me, and we'll get back to you. If you want to talk about payroll, it's what we're here for. We'll help you out.
Certainly. See if we got
Any questions?
questions, Miss Rivers, anything.
We've gotten almost all the way through this without my golden retriever doorbell going off.
You say that now, and then the golden retriever is going to start.
Yeah.
He does.
Gonna hear somebody outside the window, and
yep, that'll be it.
all done
She can
for.
perceive something out there. Don't even have to hear it.
Squirrel.
Faint noise.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think it's safe to say we have no questions. Hopefully we were able to answer them
Wonderful.
all in this. And no, I think it might be worth connecting again sometime in the near future. Maybe go over those. What was it called? The 10 aspects or the checklist?
Yeah, it's the 10 common law factors for a
Common law
1099 versus an employee.
Maybe that could be a spinoff to this.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good topic. And,
So when they usually find out they should have been an employee, when you lay
Somebody
the
gets hurt.
off, when they lay them off and they go and try to get the unemployment insurance.
oh goodness!
They go,
Oh,
yeah,
man.
you're not an employee. What?
Sounds about right.
What?
Sounds about right.
All right.
Sadly, it does.
Yep.
But Mark, again, I appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. It was nice talking to you.
Yeah, likewise. And stay tuned for next Tuesday. Guys, we'll be in for a treat. We're actually going to be interviewing our CEO of EPICompliance, Dr. Delgado, and it's going to be more so of an introduction. He does like to talk, so I'll try to keep it short with it, keep him on a short leash. But we're going to be diving into his experience and as an ex-Medicare auditor, and sort of how he found himself in the compliance industry and essentially how EPICompliance came about. So I'm looking forward to interviewing him with that, Jose. Hopefully we'll see you on that as well. And,
Yep.
'cause I know
I'm planning on being there for that one.
I'm sure you'll have some good questions as well. And other than that, again, appreciate everybody's time.
All right.
Please, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our social media channels. We'll be putting this recording on our YouTube channel. And please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And awesome. Well, hey.
All right. Thank
you guys for your time, and we'll see everyone next Tuesday.
Have a good one.
See ya.
Take care.
Bye.